Hey guys. Hi Lisa, how are you? I decided to do an impromptu live today for a couple of different reasons. I think I should be going live a little bit more often than I do on my own page. I spend a lot of time on the Dixie Belle page doing lives, of course, but you know, I gotta, oops, I'm sorry, my phone's making noise. Okay, anyway, I need to put some focus into my own page, so here I am. I'm actually gonna be going live on Dixie Belle at 1 o'clock, which is 58 minutes from now. But before I did, I thought I would kind of get laying the foundation down on this with you guys today. Also, I'm trying a new stream. So if you are joining me here from YouTube, hi, I have a new system and I wanted to make sure it worked between going live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. So technology, right? Anyway, will you guys jump on, say hi? Okay, so I'm just opening up some paint here. I have here an old cedar chest. It doesn't really look like much right now because I have a habit of taking my furniture apart. So it's like, I don't know, the torso of the cedar chest. The top's over there. I'm probably going to stain it or do something else with it. These are the legs. Well, here's a leg. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. Anyway, these are the legs that go underneath it. So you can kind of get an idea. I really don't have a vision in mind here. So let's just see what comes out. Yeah. Like I said, more than anything, I just wanted to get my base coat applied. I'm going to go live on the Dixie Belle channel here at 1. That's Mountain Standard Time, which is, you know, within the hour. And there I will continue on. So if you're joining in here, we're going to get the base coat down now, and then we'll probably do some of the designing on the Dixie Belle page. Okay, so I have sandbar. It's a Dixie Belle paint color. I have some Spanish moss. I have, coffee bean. This is one of my favorites. And I have collard greens, which is one of my favorite foods. And I don't know, I'm just feeling greens right now. So let's just see what happens, yeah? Okay. I think I'm gonna start by laying down some sandbar. So before I even begin to paint, I always get my brush wet. I have a Mr. bottle here. It's just water. Hi, Paula from Oklahoma. Hi, Dawn. Dawn's watching me on her lunch break, you guys. Nice. All right, my paint's actually a little bit thick, so I'm literally spraying, I know you can't see it, some water into my sandbar color here. I have a really bad habit of leaving the tops off. I'll have like 20 different paints going on and tops get left off and the paint gets a little bit thick. If that happens with Dixie Belle, it's water-based. Just add water, stir it up, and it's good to go. All right, here we go. So I'm just getting a base coat down of sandbar. If you're wondering what I did already, I did prep it. So I cleaned it with white lightning. Oh, this thing was nasty, by the way. You should have saw the ick that came off of it. And I sanded it with 220 grit just to kind of level out my surface. And then I sealed it with 2 coats of Dixie Belle's Clear Boss because I just had a feeling that this baby was going to be a bleeder. And I, especially with using light colors, did not want tannins coming through into my paint job. Oops, a little bit of paint pulling there. So I'm just keeping my paint wet. Using water. If you guys have questions, let me know. Notice how I'm keeping my brush strokes going in the same direction. And I'm also keeping the paint wet as I go. This is going to help eliminate brush strokes. So Dawn, what are you having for lunch since you're on your lunch break? Are you actually eating something? I'm using the Dixie Belle Synthetic Brush Oval Medium. And this is a brand spanking new one, and they do shed a little bit when they're new. After like 2 times of using it and washing it, that tends to not be an issue. So just wipe my hand off. All right. I think I may use the darker color of colored greens down on the base here. That's why I'm leaving it. A tossed salad, huh, Dawn? Yum. I had a lot of salad when I used to work in the corporate world. It sounds strange, but I remember I was a store manager I worked retail before I quit all that to do this. And I would go to the QT, which I don't know if you have that there. It's a gas station. Anyway, their food is pretty good. And they had a Southwest salad that I would always get because it was amazing. And I ate a lot of almonds when I worked, again, in the corporate world, especially in retail. As a manager, I felt like there was rarely time to really sit down and eat a meal. So almonds, I probably ate better being busier than I do now. So these handles are on there. And by on there, I mean nailed and I think glued. So I decided to just go ahead and leave them. I was going to remove them, but once I realized that they were glued, I didn't want to rip off the surface. So handles it is. This is what also happens when you leave your paint jars open, is that you do get a couple of clumpies. It's all right. I never claimed to be organized, so I just have it on a roller here and I'm just spinning it around. Dawn, you work retail. Whew. I'll let you in on a secret. I did it for years. And like I said, I was a store manager and I did that for years. And it was just so demanding. And I knew I had to leave retail when I started feeling murderous. Now, I didn't actually murder anybody, so I feel okay saying that. But oh my gosh, I don't know, it was like bringing out a side of me that I just didn't know or like. So I quit. And actually, after quitting retail, went on to be a wedding photographer, which I was doing at the same time that I was working retail, but not full time. So quit that, went on to be a wedding photographer, and I did that for a few years. And now I do this. Photography was great, but I think I should have stuck to it as an art form and not again, more like in a corporate setting, like weddings, because, oh my goodness, those brides. All right, one more side. And I think we can move on to adding in the collard greens. My paint, again, is a little bit thick, so I'm just randomly spritzing it with water just to kind of loosen it up, thin it out a bit so it spreads more evenly without brush strokes. Normally, I would take my piece outside and I have a sprayer and I would spray at least the base coat down, but I figured why not hand paint, right? So do me a favor. I see there's only a few of you on here, and that's fine. It's a quality over quantity, right? But if you are on here from YouTube, just let me know so I know that my little test situation on this stream service that I have is working properly. All right. So I'm probably going to do another coat or two, depending on how the second coat takes on this. But I think right now I want to hit it with the colored greens. And by hit it, I mean the base here. So I'm grabbing a new brush, again, wetting it down. Opal Medium by Dixie Belle, my brush of choice. All right. So my collard greens is actually already kind of runny because I did run it through my sprayer. When you spray these paints, see that? You have to add water to thin them out. So that actually helps me that it's already pretty wet because it's going to go on really smooth without having to add a bunch of water to it. Green is one of my favorite colors. I love green. So this probably looks a little crazy right now. Definitely blocky between the two colors. I will obviously end up blending those in a little bit later. I think I'm going to stain the top. I'm not totally committed to that idea, but I love, love, love stain. And I especially love stain. A lot of my work has stained tops. And I especially love stain with green. Hi, Maeve. Oh gosh, I'm probably butchering it, but hello. We are working on a cedar chest, or at least the middle part of it. I have sandbar happening here. That's this taupey color. I'm using colored greens on the bottom. That's the green color. This green color is one of my favorite. I actually have a lot of clothes in this green color. All right, so believe it or not, that looks pretty good. I know you don't see it, but I do. It'll get there. Okay, so I also took out, let me set my brush down here. Let me show you a little trick. When I am letting my brushes sit in between coats, depending on how long I'm going to be, I will either wrap them in like a bag in saran wrap or put them in a like Ziploc bag to let them, rest and not dry out in between coats. Or if in this case, I know that I'll be coming back to do another coat very shortly here, I will just keep them on a plate. I always use styrofoam, not paper. And I'll just get them nice and wet. And that way the paint doesn't harden on them. Some of my brushes, let's see if I can find one here. Like I know I've used this one quite a bit. This one, obviously, but I already used it, so, but you can see that I've used it. It's really, really icky with paint, but I've used this one quite a bit too. And if you take care of your brushes by keeping them wet and keeping them washed, they still look pretty good. So that's one of my tricks to extending the life of my brushes. Maeve rhymes with Dave. That's a good way to let people know. My husband's name is Andon, and people, they can never get it. And he's always like, it's like Brandon without the BR. So I'll remember that now, hopefully. Okay. So I also have some Spanish moss here. It's probably hard to see. I'm thinking I might add this color in. It is also, I'd say, in the gray taupey family, but this one has a slight hint of green. And I have a whole other container over there. I've been using it. Anyway, I'm thinking that needs to be added in. I've also got coffee bean. That's a super duper duper dark brown. I'd say like 75% of my pieces have some type of coffee bean accenting in them. So this is a nice staple color. I may even do the legs in this color. So if you weren't here earlier, I did display or show you the legs. So these are the legs that go underneath it. I don't know. We'll see. Half the time I never really know what I'm doing until it's done. All right. I think that's dry enough. One thing I do love about the Dixie Belle Paint is that it dries so fast. So I think that's dry enough. I'm going to do another coat. So again, I have my wet brush. It's just been sitting there waiting for me to get back to it. And this particular paint was a little bit thicker, so I do need to keep it wet. And it's not because it came that way, but because I left the lid off. You can also spray your brush directly. I'll do that sometimes to reactivate the paint that's in the brush. And I just want to make sure I keep it nice and wet because I'm trying to make sure I don't have brush strokes. Or if I do, very, very small, barely noticeable brush strokes. That's ideal. Good question, Maeve. Maeve wants to know, why did you take the legs off? Well, I tend to take my furniture apart. The legs were actually pretty wobbly, and they need to be reinforced. So I don't know if this one is. Nope, it's the other one. Slightly. The other one's pretty bad. The leg here, there's like a peg that's holding it together. They're totally loose, so I'm going to have to probably, they're attached here, take them apart, re-glue them, clamp them up, put them back together, and then put them back on. Also, I'm probably going to do a different color entirely, and so, you know, taking them off makes it a little bit easier for me. And they were just held together by a couple of bolts through the underside here. So it really isn't a big deal as far as putting it back together. But that's a good question. So like I said earlier, I'm going to end up probably blending these two colors together. And so, you know, I kind of like went over there. It's not a big deal. Once I blend them, none of that will be seen anyway. I am not actually the neatest painter. I used to agonize over Gosh, this used to be me. You know, just so meticulous and taking my time and making sure it was perfect. And now I just slap it on, and which is a lot easier to do using Dixie Belle Paint because it is so forgiving. That, and I tend to like a grungier look anyway. So, oh gosh, brush strokes, go away. All right, that's good. We're turning her. Hi, Marianne. How are you today? If I were going for, I'll also, let's see, note this too. So if I were going for like a super clean paint job, I'd still be working pretty quickly. However, instead of pretty much staying within the same direction, I would be, let me take it to the other side here so I can show you. So on this side, I went with my paintbrush this way, from left to right or right to left. Either way, I went back and forth this way. If I were going for like one color, totally seamless, I would probably do what's called cross hatching, which is, so the first coat I took it back and forth this way. My second coat, I would be going this way. That's not really the look I'm going for. So it's not super important that I do it that way. However, that's, you know, if you're new or want any kind of tips, that's a good one to have. So then what that does is it helps minimize the brush strokes as well. Oh my gosh, Marianne says it's freezing there. 30 below. 30 below? Okay. So when I first saw that, I read below 30. No, 30 below. There is a difference. Good gracious. So what do you do? Marianne, do you paint? And if you do, what do you do in that kind of weather? I would go so crazy. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it never gets that cold. If it's like 50 degrees, we're all sitting here like, well, most of everybody here. I tend to be on the warmer side. But I've been going a little bit nutty, mainly because I do like to spray my furniture mostly. And, you know, you have to do it. You have to paint outside within, I usually wait till the weather is about maybe 62, 63 degrees or higher before I will paint outside. Otherwise, my paint doesn't seem to want to dry properly. Okay. Not much going on here. We're just getting the base coats laid. Like I said, I will be going live on the Dixie Belle page in 35 minutes. That's where a lot of the design is going to happen. Ah, you paint in your house. Okay. Of course. Oh, babysitting the grandkids. Yeah. So no paint for you? Is that how it works? Oh my gosh, your heat bill must be what my air conditioning bill looks like here in the Arizona summers. I lived in Buffalo, New York, well, just outside of Buffalo, New York for a while, and oh my gosh, it was the heating expense was just so much. All right, so I'm going to jump back to my colored greens. That's the dark green color that we see here. So I'm going to jump back to it, put another quick coat of that on it, and then I think we'll be good. We'll be good until I go live on Dixie Belle, on the Dixie Belle Facebook page, that is. I am likely going to distress this too. So if you notice, I'm not really putting a whole focus here. Let's move it in. So I've left some of the wood showing through there. And then again here. I'm probably going to, maybe not distress it, but maybe just take some of the chunks of paint out. Like I said, I went into this not really having a vision. Now I'm getting one, and I definitely am feeling a grunge vibe happening, or at least coming on, so. Oh, you're gonna, Marianne. Paint or bust, huh? What's it like painting with young kids? In some ways, I'm grateful that I did not start this craft until mine is older. Mine is 16 now, and I have 2 stepdaughters, but they're not with us full time. But even then, they're older. They're, well, just about 10 and 12, so. But I have friends that have, you know, littles running around while they're trying to paint, and I don't know that I could do that. I always admire the people who can. Yeah, Maeve, a roller stool. So I have like a shop stool thing. And then this is actually just a cart, and I just slap this on top of it. Normally what I have is, let's see, oh, I don't have one handy, but I have a piece of plywood that I put on top of those, you know, those like short little dollies with the, they're like a rectangle, and then they have carpet over the edges. And I have a few different size pieces of plywood that I just lay over the top of those, and I will set my furniture on that as I'm working on it, and that way I can spin it around. Makes it so much easier. All right, one more side. Thank you. I actually made a little tiny roller stool out of one of those dollies I was telling you about. But I don't use it that often because, well, I am very tall, and it's like this tall off the floor, and I'm very tall, and so I pretty much look ridiculous on the floor with my knees, you know, up to my chin, trying to scoot about on this little roller that I made. So now I just bring everything up so I can sit in a regular stool. Okay, so like I said, while your brushes are resting, just get them wet, get them nice and wet. There we go. They will not dry out on you. So I think this is a good place to stop because I want to let that paint dry, you know, at least 15 minutes or so before I start really trying to add the design and trying to work it into what I have going on here. So I think this is a good place to stop. Okay. Angela. A little cute frog. Right, except not cute. There's nothing cute about this. Thank you, though. Okay. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I will check back and respond. If you want to, you can join me in the next half hour. I'll be live on the Dixie Belle page, and I'll be doing, some more of this chest here. And thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye.